Hello.
Hello, hello. How's everybody?
Hi. Well, very well.
Good.
Good. Good.
Hey, Mimi. How you doing?
Alright, just coming off mute. Good, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Actually, today was great. I was in the studio all day. It was awesome.
Were you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, because North Atlantic Drift and Jennifer's Toronto Brass Quintet are doing a collaboration record. And so yesterday was their day in the studio. And today, and I was in there too. And today was North Atlantic Drift's day in the studio because they can only fit so many people in there because of COVID. But luckily, they're completely set up for COVID with screens and you know, the questionnaire and all that kind of stuff. So it's all kind of above board. And today was a really great day with North Atlantic Drift putting their stuff on top of the brass quintet. It was really awesome. It worked out actually much better than we even thought it was going to. But it does mean that we have more work to do.
When will this be released?
Oh, I don't know. Let's not talk about that, shall we? It was an idea, you know, like it was an idea we had a while ago, and then the studio time became available. So we're kind of taking advantage of the studio time right now, and you know, we'll see what comes out of it. Like we're not in a hurry, but the record is going to be called The Pipes. And the cover will have half of it will be Ross's Uilleann pipes, you know, all the wooden tubes, and the other half will be all the brass quintets piping, you know, plumbing. So I think it's kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yes, but so great to be in the studio, so great to be actually playing actual music with actual people. Like very, very awesome day, really. So, yeah. All right, and anybody have any revelations or anything this week playing the fiddle that they'd like to talk about, or questions or anything like that before we get started?
My revelation is I need to practice.
Indeed, yes. That is a thing. But that's okay, we can practice right here this evening, can't we? Anybody else having any difficulties they want to talk about, or successes that they want to talk about, or anything like that?
Well, I did have something funny happen.
Oh.
I have a slight hearing loss, so I have the subtitles running below all of the videos. And apparently, it couldn't identify when you said Kahneman's Rambles, and it came up Cannabis Rambles.
Well, if there isn't a tune called Cannabis Rambles yet, there should be, for sure. That is very funny. Well, and that name, Knopman's Rambles, so I should tell you that I'm not pronouncing it correctly. The correct pronunciation, as reminded to me by my friend Brian every time I say it, is Connachtman's Rambles. Connachtman's. But when he reminds me of that, I just tell him, "No, man, it's Knopman's Rambles. It's you must have it mixed up or something like that." But yeah, that is how you're supposed to pronounce it. Connachtman's Rambles. Yeah. But I can't please my buddy Brian, so I just keep doing it the regular way. Cool. Anybody else having anything they want to talk about this week? About playing the fiddle? How's the tuning? This is now spring, so everybody's fiddles have probably gone a little out of whack. Has anybody been fighting with their fiddle to get it in tune lately? A little bit? Yeah. Now, I've showed you guys how to drive the pegs back in when they slip out a little bit, which is a big thing this time of the year. You're going to find that it happens. And so you drive them back in there, and I've reminded you which octave for each string, right? The G is G3, the D and the A are D4 and A4, and the E is E5, so that you don't try to tune to a different octave and break your string. So careful keeping your fiddles in tune this time of year is terrible. Just terrible. Anyway, so I guess we might as well just get started, shall we? We'll play some nice scales, get a good sound. I'd like to talk a bit about sound production today too, because we haven't really directly addressed sound production on the fiddle. You know, I mean, it's something that you work on as you're going along for sure, but I'd like to kind of talk about it early on, and address it a little bit so that you guys can have some idea how to work on it, because it's not something that a lot of beginners really think about, sound production. They're just kind of trying to make things work. But I find that a little bit of attention to it early on can make your time trying to get a good sound a little bit easier as you go along. So I thought we could talk about that a little bit tonight too. All right? Anyway, so that being said, why don't we try one of our nice scales that I know you guys love. And so maybe we'll start with the old G major scale there. And then when you're doing it, we're going to play it a good couple of times and try to get it really, really good. When you're playing it, I want you to try to pay attention to your sound production. So try to pay attention to what sound you're getting out of your fiddle and whether you like it or not. Okay? That's what I want you to listen to. And then I'll talk to you guys, see if I can get some feedback, how your fiddle sounds, what you'd like to do to change that sound. Okay? Because that's sound production. You know, there's three aspects to playing the fiddle. There's pitch, there's rhythm, and there's sound production. All right? So anyway, where's my fiddle? Oh, here it is. It's in my case. Wow. All right. Okay, and I unraveled, one of my strings unraveled in the studio today, which is very unfortunate. I had a spare one. Oh, but she's out of tune. So I just got to get this thing up in tune here. The old tuner out. And that was very depressing because that's the sign that I have gone through one complete set of strings without doing any gigs. One set of strings, which is usually about a year. No gigs. Got to change them. No gigs. Okay, so I'm gonna mute everybody here, guys, and we're gonna get started. So we'll start with G major, scale, and then arpeggio, and we'll do it twice. We'll do the scale, arpeggio, take a breather, do it again right away, and then I'm gonna talk to you about your sound. Okay, here we go. A 1, 2, and here we go. Okay, arpeggio. Okay, so that was the scale and arpeggio in G. Now let's do it one more time, and this time you're going to really try to pull the sound out of your fiddle as much as you can, okay? And then we'll talk about what goes wrong. Ready, scale. go. Ready? All right. Here's Bill. Hey, Bill. Okay, so there we go. G major scale and arpeggio. Now, first of all, sound production. I mean, how do we do that? How do we produce a good sound on the violin? Like, what are the factors involved in producing a good sound on the violin? So, first of all, there's how much your bow is digging into the string. Okay? Now, remember bow push-ups? Remember that? Right? That is kind of what controls your dig in. See that? You push the bow into the strings or you drag it out of the strings. See that? And when you're playing, it's kind of like this finger comes in and adds the weight. See that? That's what they call it. They call it weight. They don't call it pressure. You might hear that from people from time to time. Pressure on the bow. But my dad's teacher used to hate that word pressure because he used to say, you never press on the bow. You always pull the bow. Going up or down, you always pull. You never push on it, press on it, which I really agree with that. The pressure is the wrong word. Weight is the traditional word they use for that, which is a much better word. Also, you remember that the weight is always combined with motion. See that? And that's how you get kind of your touch. So that's what, when people refer to a fiddler's touch, like Jerry Holland, for instance, everybody talks about how he had a beautiful touch, especially for slow airs. And that they're referring to how much he digs into the strings and how much he moves the bow. Jerry had a nice light touch. See that? Some people have a heavier touch. Ashley McIsaac, for instance, he has quite a heavy touch. And we love it. You know, you love both kind of ways of doing it. The heavy touch has lots of dirt, and even with the slow airs, it can be really beautiful and very honest. See? But the lighter touch gives you sort of a more beautiful, rich sound. It depends on what you like. And that's why your sound production is a very personal thing. And that's why it often gets attributed to the personality of the player, you know? People often compare, say Jerry's touch to Buddy McMaster's touch. He also had a very light touch on the fiddle. And a good way of pulling out the sound, you know? And then there are others, and that's why you get these comparisons, because it's such a personal thing. So the factors involved in your touch are how much you're digging in with your weight and how slow or fast you're moving the bow. So it's a proportional thing. So the faster you move the bow, the more weight you bring in here. See that? And the race car drivers, they talk about the fine line between slip and grip on the race cars, on the tires against the road. And that's exactly what we talk about with this weight and speed thing. See that? You're thinking about the fine line between slip and grip. Digging in just enough to grip and do that slip grip cycle that gives us the good sound, and not too much, or not enough. Not enough also sucks. So here is the sound of digging in too much. Now, I did not do a really extreme version of that time. And I had my tuner on so that you guys would know that I was bang on in tune. So it wasn't the pitch that was bothering you, right? But was it a good sound? Did you enjoy the sound that I made just then? No, hey, again, it sounds, what's that?
Had to turn you down.
There you go. It sounds strangly, it sounds pinched and forced. Okay, that's digging in too much. Now let me play you not digging in enough. Everybody hear hearing that wispy, sometimes catches, sometimes doesn't. You're worried about a squeak. You're waiting for a squeak. Even if the squeak doesn't come, you still have PTSD about the squeak. You know, that's not digging in enough. Okay, so those are the extremes, and like I said, I didn't even do it that extreme. You know, the extreme digging in would sound more like this. And it's not like you don't hear it, because you hear it sometimes, even from good players, you know. And the not digging in enough, the extreme would be. And you really start squeaking there. Did you hear that harmonic? And it's because when the bow doesn't go through its slip, grip cycle, if it misses a grip cycle, then it plays the harmonic of the string. And that's usually way up high. That's why it takes the form of a whistle. And the E string is the most susceptible to that. Okay? That's what makes that whistle sound, because you're only vibrating a part of the string, basically. Okay? So those are the things that control your sound. Now, I haven't talked about bow speed. So I showed you the two different weights. You could too much weight and not enough weight. Let me show you too fast and too slow. So, first of all, here's a bow that's too slow. It is the most annoying sound in the world. My dad used to complain about it all the time. I'm not going to do it anymore because you're all annoyed enough, I can tell. But do you hear that? You're sitting there listening, you're like, come on, come on. And it's that kind of a feeling, right? So that's a too slow bow. Okay? Here's a too fast bow. So now you hear there, you get a better sound quality for sure, but do you hear the edge to it? Do you hear the little edge that accompanies the sound when you go too fast? See that? And you're always running the risk of choking off your string when you go too fast, because like I said, whether you want it or not, the faster you move the bow, the more weight comes into it. Just by virtue of the motion. If you imagine an empty pickup truck, the faster you go down the road, the more the arse end wants to go into the ground. See that? So that's why you have to kind of mitigate that. You got to move, you got to have the right weight for the right speed. And that's why I talk about the race car drivers with the slip and grip ratio there. See, you're always trying to find that fine line. So you guys have to discover for yourself how fast you need to move the bow and how much you have to dig in. And you'll notice that the down bow feels a lot different than the up bow. The down bow you dig in just straight up just like this. As you move along, you'd like that. With the up bow, you kind of do a different dig in. I do give a little touch with this here as I start the up bow, but then I just kind of follow through with this kind of paintbrushy type of thing to give the weight. Do you see what I mean by that? Yeah. Okay. So those are the ways that you can influence your sound on your fiddle. Now, I'm going to pick on a few people and I'm going to ask you to describe to me your sound. But before we do that, let's try the scale one more time. Okay? We're going to try the scale one more time now that you guys have more to think about, and then I want a few people to describe their sound to me. Okay? Hi, Bill. Oh, Jesus, A string. Close enough for Irish, as they say. Here we go. G major. Ready? And... So, let's see. Who should we pick on? I'm going to pick on Mimi first, because she does already know about some sound production. So what do you think, Mimi? Describe your sound to me.
Well, my sound is definitely better when I play scales than when I'm playing rep that I'm not super confident in. Because
Okay.
I know we've talked about before, I really like, if I'm unsure about my finger placement, then my bow kind of stops as well. I don't continue kind of pulling through. I do notice that the sound seems to become a little thinner the more fingers I have down. It's like a richer sound on an open string.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I just today I was having some really sort of like nondescript sounds on the A string. I was kind of like waffling between my strings a fair bit today.
You mean like
but-
touching the other ones that you don't want to
Yeah,
touch? Yeah. Okay.
But I think generally, I tend to be. If I'm unsure, then I tend to not have enough movement in the bow.
Yeah.
And then if I'm confident, then sometimes I do dig in too much. So I'm kind of.
Okay.
On both ends.
Sure. Okay. No, you make a good point. So you're absolutely right, and this is true for everybody that I've ever taught, including myself. Your right arm is a better tuner and a better rememberer of tunes than you. And if it doesn't, if it doesn't feel like you know the next bit of a tune, it's going to put the brakes on. Period. You know. And if you ever have problems getting through a tune with your bow, it's always because of that. You just have to, go back and figure out whatever it is you're guessing, and then your bow arm will be less like a horse at the hurdle. You know what I mean? Balking at the hurdle, yeah. So, but the other thing is, so you say that when you do get moving a bit, you end up digging in too much. Yeah. So a way to deal with that there, Mimi, is to try to do some tests. Start with the down bow. So when you're doing your down bow, see if you can kind of add half the weight you normally add, and see if that feels nice, or a quarter, or 2/3, or whatever it is. What happens is, like I said, if you're moving the bow faster because you're more confident, it's adding weight on you. See what I mean? Without you knowing it. The other thing is just make sure that that elbow doesn't come up too high, because you don't want that to go into the bow as well.
Yeah,
All right?
I definitely.
You got a bit of the funky chicken going on there?
Again, I have a sort of problem child. I like bow.
Well, the doorway helps with that, of course.
Yeah.
So that'll help. But anyway, good. That's a good start. So we got a good description of the sound from Mimi. And I think if you play around with how much weight, but not with how much motion, except for, of course, more motion, then that should work out for you, okay?
And is it normal that the sound seems thinner the more fingers you put down?
Oh, of course, yes. And I forgot to mention that. That's just because of the string length.
Yeah.
So when you got an open string, you got the great big open ringing sound of the whole string, but as you add fingers, you get less string. And so, for instance, notes up in third position. See how thin that is? And that's my whole bow. That is everything moving there and still. But that's as much string as I have to vibrate, so that's all you get. See what I mean?
Okay.
Okay, so that's normal, but we do battle it by using more bow, and depends on your touch too. So you can play with all that, but we do battle it, but it's all you can do.
So more bow.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
more bow, but you'll have to adjust your touch accordingly. Okay, now let's see, who else? How about like a brand new person? Say like Stacy. Want to describe to me your sound?
Yeah, I would say I'm the opposite. I think I'm a bit light on my bow, like maybe not pushing hard enough. And my problem with when I have three fingers on is like, especially if I'm going, a lot of the songs are going from A to like D3. Sometimes when I do a D3, like almost nothing comes out. Like I don't know if I'm pushing too hard on the strings, maybe.
Oh, can you play that note for me?
Well, when I do it in the scales and stuff, it sounds pretty good. It's when I'm going like back and forth kind of quickly from like, A1, D3.
Okay. Yeah. So what happens there is if you're going quickly, sometimes there's a failure to bring the finger pressure in
Okay.
on the note. And I'll show you what a D is. A D3 you were talking about?
It's usually the D3. It almost sounds like nothing is like no sound coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got my finger laid over the string there, but not really put down.
Okay.
And it mutes the string basically. It's like putting a blanket over your string.
Right.
So
Sorry,
maybe
what do I fix that?
just press harder.
Press harder.
Yeah. And when
Okay. With my bow or on my fingers?
No, with your finger, with your left hand.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more finger pressure should make that note. Now watch here. So that's the non-note that you were talking about. Okay, listen to when I bring in the pressure. Hear that? Up she comes right away. So I think that's all you got to do.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that's usually my problem. Yet I feel like I'm not pushing hard enough because sometimes I feel like my bow bounces a bit on the string, and then just kind of like squeaky.
Yeah. Now, can you play? Why don't you just play a little bit of the scale for me? Just the first few notes of it or something.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, that's not bad already. Your starting point is pretty good, but I can see clearly that for your left hand, you definitely could use some more finger pressure. I think it'll improve everything. Okay. Now I don't. Yeah. Now I don't have full pressure down. I never do. I always have about 70% pressure down, right? But that 70% is important, and if you don't have it there, I think it's going to do what you're describing. The other thing is that you have this classic thing where about this much of the bow is working good.
Yeah.
So it means that to get started, you're taking about this much of the bow to get started, okay? So now you're doing pretty good in the middle of the bow. So I want you to pay attention to what weight and motion you have in the middle and make it apply right from one end to the other, right off the get-go. See what I mean?
Yeah, can I try again?
Please do. Okay, that was definitely a little bit of an improvement. Did you notice that?
I was trying to push harder.
Yeah, did everybody else notice a small improvement in the sound quality there the second time? Yeah. What I noticed was different. First of all, you're pressing harder with your left hand. Also, you were using more of your bow. But I did notice something as a result of you using more of your bow. You go straight until you're about here, and then you do the whole thing where you knock out annoying people in the bank line behind you.
Right.
So you want to go, remember, out in front.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to get right out to the end.
Okay.
Okay, but very good. Very, very good. You're definitely getting somewhere. Now, who else? How about somebody that's been playing for a little while? Like, I don't know, how about maybe Deborah? Why don't you give it a try? Or describe your sound to me.
I start off confident, and if I hit a wrong note, I start to slide that finger trying to find it, and you can just feel the confidence leaving the bow.
So the brakes go on?
Yeah, then it gets light and wispy.
And light. So Deborah's describing as something I've run into quite a lot as well, where as soon as you lose your confidence, not only do your brakes go on, but you also let up on your touch. Yeah, I've seen this before, okay? So my best prescription for that is, whatever tune it is you're working on, you want to get to know that so that you're not guessing at anything at all. That's why I always tell people that a slow air that you're really, really familiar with is the best way to improve your sound production. Okay? A really simple one like Sky Boat Song or, like the Rosebud, like we did the Rosebud, Really simple, slow air that you're not going to guess at all. And you can just move that bow and try to make the most of it, and then that carries over, see? It's the whole fake it till you make it thing, You use that in a confident way and try to have the same feeling when you're playing something, when the notes are flying, as it were. Okay? Now, why don't you play a few notes so I can hear it? Okay, now that's not too bad at all, Deborah. Did everybody hear some really nice full bows out of Deborah there that time? Yeah. So you're off to a good start. I think you got a good foundation. You work on that whole confidence thing, right? But just try to pay attention to when it's working, because you're getting a decent sound there. You just want to make it feel like that all the time. Okay, does that help?
Yep.
Does anybody else want to describe their sound to me? Anybody else? Yes, Lena.
So my problem is too slow on the bow,
Ah.
and I noticed it also practicing the rosebud.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure how to balance playing slow and the bow moving slow. Like,
Well, I don't think of it that way, you know? I never think of it that way. I never think of slowing down my bow. I always describe it like this, you know, and I'm a fiddle player, not a violinist, I should say. So we don't usually try to slow down the bow ever. And I always describe it like I met these Newfoundlanders once when I lived in Yellowknife, and they were crazy, and they used to do something called water skipping on their skidoos. Has anybody ever heard of this activity called water skipping on skidoos? You have. Oh, a couple people. So, yes, people that spent any time up north would have heard of this. So, it's where you're on your skidoo, and you go to a frozen lake, and the middle of the lake is not frozen. Okay? And so you get on your skidoo and you blast away and you get to the open water, and if you're brave and you keep the gas down and you hit it at just the right speed, then you can skip across the open water, sending a big rooster tail of water behind you. It's very exciting. The whole thing is very exciting, you know, and you wind up on the other side. But some fellas, you know, they'd lose the nerve, or they wouldn't keep a consistent thing on the throttle to get that right speed to get across the water, right? And so the fellas that I met, the way that they dealt with this problem was to duct tape their throttle always all the way open. With duct tape. So they'd start the skidoo, and then they taper up, and then off they go. And so basically that's how I play the violin. Throttle taped open all the time. See what I mean? Because if it's little tiny notes I need, then I hit it with that kind of full throttle just a little bit, and then I have a beautiful ringing small note. See what I mean? Or if it's a great big long note, same type of thing. I'll go with that full throttle, and I have lots of room on my bow, so it's like woo-hoo. It's like luxury, you know what I mean? So for me, it's kind of always full throttle. And I find that for people that are learning and trying to work on their sound, that can be a very useful thing. You know, it can get you through a bunch of rough patches, and as you keep doing it, there will be less rough patches, less and less. Does that make sense, Lena? Cool. Does anybody else want to talk about their sound? Anybody want to describe their sound, whether they're frustrated by it? Now, Scott, this is going to be a problem for you because you have an electric violin. And so it's going to be hard for you to judge your sound quality coming off of that thing. But I will tell you this. If you manage to get a good sound off of that, what my dad would say, a fishing rod, then you are going to get a really, really good sound out of a fiddle. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my best advice to you is to try to get your best sound you can out of that thing. And then when you get to a real fiddle, man, it's going to be like taking the leg weights off before you run. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there are limitations for sure. Anybody else want to talk about their sound? Yes, Katja.
Yes. So one thing I found is very helpful is to record yourself when you are practicing. No matter if it's a scale or just a very short music piece.
Yes.
it sounds very different when you listen to it than when you're playing.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, you make such a good point. Yeah, and yeah.
Yeah. So I don't do this very often, but for example, you told us also to sometimes just for ear training to pick up just a phrase from a song that we like and then try to replay it.
Yes.
I tried to do this with Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
Oh!
Yeah, it's a very talking about sound production. If I listen to it, the various versions that are out there, they sound beautiful and very touching. And if I play it, it's very cracky. It sounds
cracky.
Well, sort of not very. I'm asking myself, how come that my version sounds so? What is, even if I get the notes right, what is it that the quality of the tone, or however you want to call it, is so off from how I want it to be?
Yes.
The way to really to improve is to record yourself and then listen to how you want to play it, kind of thing, and then sort of work on that.
Yes, yes, and you're doing something that is very valuable, Katya. Recording yourself, and in fact, we're going to do this because with a lot of my other students, I can't really tell over Zoom how you actually sound, unfortunately, because there's a codec that goes along with the data, and so it's always colored. It doesn't matter what, I can have the original sound turn on and all that kind of stuff, but there's still that codec on there. And so what I do with people that are working on sound production is I get them to make videos of themselves for me, right?
Of course,
But first of all, it's so that I can actually hear how you sound, because I can't over the Zoom. I can only get an idea. Now, I've been on the Zoom now, teaching on Zoom for a year, so I now know that the crappy on Zoom means good in real life, or this crappy on Zoom means good in this way in real life. You learn these relationships, but still, I find that getting people to make videos for me is the most valuable because you go through the experience of doing it. Now, I should also preface that by saying recording yourself is a very discouraging process at first for a lot of people, okay? And so if you find that is happening, that you record something, you listen back and you feel like putting the fiddle away, then I don't recommend it.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Yeah. Because anything that stops you from playing is going to be your enemy. It doesn't matter. Because sound will get better. The more you work on it, the more it'll get better. But if you stop working on it, obviously you're not going to get any better. So it depends on the person. For some people, there haven't been many people, I gotta say. But for some people, it's not a good idea if you're easily discouraged, or if you find yourself discouraged at the very first recording and you feel like you never want to play again, then I don't recommend it, right? But I would like to kind of go through it with you guys at some point or other. If anybody here could make a video of themselves playing and send it to me, I would love that. Because then I could get an idea about how you're sounding, and a video is what I prefer because I can also check it out. I can check out the whole thing, and if I hear a certain sound, I can be like, oh, it's the elbow, or whatever, you know what I mean? So maybe we'll think about that as a project. I'd like to get something that's really, really simple, like West Wind or Skyboat Song, or any of those really, really simple airs, and see if we can make a project of making a video of yourself and talking about the sound. How does that sound to everybody? Is that doable? Yeah? Okay. We yes, Mimi.
I was just gonna say, building off what you were just talking about sound production, and it reminded me of in singing training, we're often told that it's counterproductive to try to listen to yourself while you're producing sound too much, because it is really distorted.
Yeah.
Our own experience of our own voice is really distorted, and as you were saying, Katya, in terms of the sound you get off of your fiddle is not really what's being produced. So it is good to be reminded too that it's that object under observation can't quite be observed, because if you're trying to sort of correct as you go all the time, then you're not free in your sound production, and sometimes it's helpful to like let go and just do it and listen to it later under recording or something, and then try to sort of apply a new thought the next time instead of trying to do it all as you're taking in the information.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, for sure. And the fiddle is particularly like that because all the sound is coming out of one side, you know, especially if you're holding your fiddle correctly. Because usually we get sound kind of in the middle of our stereo field, but the fiddle's over on one side, right? And it's kind of half of what you're actually hearing. That's why I always love to hear good fiddle players pick up my fiddle and play it for me. So then I actually get to hear what it sounds like, you know, in real life. It's not very often. But yeah, you make a really good point. But what I told you at the beginning, describing what too much weight, not enough weight, too slow, not slow enough, knowing what those things sound like is going to inform you as you work on this stuff, okay? And you know what to do. If you hear any of those things, you know what to do now, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Right on. So we'll spend one more week. We'll spend working on just the scale, getting the sound production as good as we can, and we'll talk more next week about how you did. And then we'll pick a tune to use to make this recording, okay? And it's a long-term goal. We don't have to do it all in a couple of weeks. We take as long as you want to make a recording that you think is good and send it off to me, and we can talk about your sound quality, okay? Anyway, so there you go. So that's my lecture about sound production. It is very, very important, and it is kind of what you do for the rest of your life because you're never, ever happy with your sound, unfortunately. Hey, Mimi, are you happy with your singing sound?
Never.
You wouldn't want to meet the musician that was. Jesus, can you imagine that? Anyway, so keep working on it. So let's play our G major scale just one more time in arpeggio with all of this stuff in mind, and then we'll move on to the good stuff. All right, here we go. A 1, 2, here we go. Arpeggio. Okay, everybody happy with their sound now? A little bit more happy with their sound? That's great. So, last time, you'll have to remind me, a lot has happened since then, but we did learn Egan's polka, the Carey polka, right? Did we get into the John Ryan's polka? We did. Oh, great. Okay. So what I suggest tonight is let's practice both of them. Get them to kind of a little bit of a tempo, and then smash them together. Make a set. Okay, a set of polkas. So we'll start with the Carey. Okay, we'll go nice and slow. First off, we'll do it a good 3 times, and I'll try to pick it up there on the 3rd time. polka. Nice and easy. Alrighty. 1, 2, 3, and... Again. Faster. All right, now that was a good workout to start off with. Tell me, who felt it that last time? Who felt that it was a bit fast? Hard to keep up with? Anyone? Couple people? Yeah? Okay. Who felt like it was dreadfully slow? One person? Okay, a few people. So that's we're kind of in that kind of in-between thing there, right, with this group. So with the people that find it slow, I really want you to try to use your whole bow, okay? Use this opportunity to work on that sound production that I was talking about a bit ago. I think it's really going to help strengthen up what you're already doing. Also, there's a little ornament in there. I don't know if you heard it. That's called a grace note. See that? So the melody note is B. And I use my third finger for my grace notes. Some people use their second, but I use my third, so you can decide which one you like better. And as you're playing it, you just kind of bring it across the string, a little chirp noise. See how I'm doing that? Yeah, so it's not like I'm playing the note. It's that I'm just kind of interrupting the vibration of the string momentarily to get a little chirp. And when you go fast, it's really great. You hearing that? Yeah, fun and simple. Okay? So for the people that find it too slow, use all of your bow and try getting one of them grace notes in. Okay? For the people that find it a bit fast, I do notice a lot of elbow movement in the group. So like for this tune, it would look like this. See that? That's a lot of energy. That's going to slow you down big time. Try not to use the elbow to do that. Watch me do it. See that? No elbow at all, just that. Okay, that'll help with the speed for sure. Okay, so let's try it again. We'll start at that speed there, guys. Ugh. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, feel? How did it feel for the people that found it too fast before? Better? Oh, good. That's good. And how, yeah, I saw it was much better. How about the people that felt like it was slow? Was you able to get a few things in there? Yeah? Oh, good. That's great. Okay. I was going to say now, one other thing that slows you down considerably, if you're aware of it, is the bookshelf. So that's where your hand goes from this to this. Okay? This slows you down quite a lot because when you're looking for the notes, your fingers are now way over here. See that? Whereas when you have it properly, your fingers are over the strings. And so it's a lot less travel. And also, when your hand is like this, your finger tends to come down in a way that's hard to get the finger pressure. Like you can kind of see it. Like my hand has to do this flattening out thing, which you do not want. You'd rather just kind of poke it with the end of your finger. See that? So that's another consideration. If you have the bookshelf going out with your left hand, that's going to slow you down as well. All right? Now, what are the chances we can go any even faster? Huh? Oh, good. One thumbs up is going to do for me. Let's do it. Here we go. Hold on to your hats. 1, 2, 3, go! Okay, nobody stopped. And that was a good clip. Everybody able to get through that? Pretty much? Oh, that's great. That's really good. So that's a jumping off point. So I don't know what tempo that is. I don't have my metronome with me, but I'm recording. So this is how fast we got it. Okay? And so we'll try to get it even faster. But if you're looking for a goal at home, that would be a really good goal. Just about there. Diddle, 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 day, day. I don't know what that is. Like, maybe it's like 60 or something like that on the metronome. Oh, Mimi's got a thing going there. What do you say, Mimi?
I don't know, 76?
That's pretty good. Right on, guys. 76. Yay. Cool. So we only have another 45 markings on the metronome to get it up to speed. It's not too bad. So, but that's your goal. So 75 around, that's going to be your good cruising tempo for this week. Okay? 75. Okay. Now, let's think about any other questions about that tune before we move on. Any bits you need me to clarify? Yes, Heather.
So how fast should it be exactly?
Oh boy, Carry people, they don't do anything slow. right. And thank you, Lita, for demonstrating the correct traditional carry dance that they do to that. I especially like the Ukrainian touch there near the end. That was great. It's really good. Anyway, anybody
Still trying
have...
to get Jordan to
Huh?
join me one day.
What's that?
Still trying to get Jordan to join me one of these days.
Keep
He
trying.
doesn't want.
Yeah, so anybody have any success, even though we were going really fast? Is it because I saw a few people trying it out? How did you do, Deborah? Not bad.
I surprised myself.
Oh, that's great. That's great. See, now when I moved to Toronto and had to learn Irish, like, learn Irish or die in this city, it was like that. It was going to the sessions. I went to one every night of the week almost. And it was just tunes at 120 beats per minute. And I sat there waiting for the bit that I knew. It's coming, play it. And the nice thing about this music is that you repeat the A part, you repeat the B part. So there's always a chance to give it another crack. You know what I mean? It's such a good thing to do if you have the opportunity. If you have nice people that don't mind you doing that, Anyway, great. Right on. So, shall we move on to the next polka? The John Ryan's polka. In a small space. Oh, Shona can't do it because she's in a small space. Okay, that's a good excuse.
I was trying to say that I'm better at dancing the carry set, but it has to be in a super small space, usually with a wardrobe in the way.
Yeah, you have to have
you
some...
go round and round and round, and then you gotta dodge the furniture.
Dodge the furniture. Mind the dresser.
Mind the dresser. Yeah.
You do. It's important to have some kind of obstacle that could potentially cause an injury. That's right. You need something. And if somebody gets hurt, it's like, woohoo! Okay, so John Ryan's polka. Now, let me just kind of remind you of it. Okay, everybody remember that? Titanic and everything, Remember? I remember my dad watched the Titanic, and at the end, he was like, how come she's not giving him a turn on the board? Because the two of them are hanging onto the board, and she gets up on the board, and she's there for the rest of the movie. And Dad was like, how come she's not giving your man a turn on the board? Anyway, let's go really, really slow. Really, really slow. Ready, and... Okay, now I'm just going to get that polka up because I don't want to play a different version. I have so many versions of that. Okay, hold on here. So many versions of that tune that I play. Okay. John Ryan's. Okay, let's try her again. This time I'll stick exactly to what I sent you guys. To be less confusing. We had that situation today in the studio. We're playing this tune called The Musical Priest. It's a very well-known tune. All three of us lads play it, like a lot. But we all had different versions today. And so it took a little doing to just kind of straighten them all out and make sure we're all playing the same thing, you know? Okay, here we go. Is that a good speed? Is that speed okay for everybody involved? Not too fast for anybody? Okay, let's do it. Ready, and... Sorry. Let's do it all again. How we doing? How we doing with John Ryans? Anybody having any problems?
Yeah, I have a problem playing. I can play 2/16 notes fairly fast. If I get the 4/16 notes, everyone else is in the next line, and I'm not finished.
Okay.
So I've been trying for years. I didn't do that, but I doubt if there's much you could do. But if there is anything, let me know.
Sure. Well, can you play the first little bit for me, Bill, so I can watch your hand and see what's going on?
Say.
Now that sounds really good.
Yeah, but at that speed.
Okay. So
How do you do those four?
okay. So two things that's going to help you there when you go faster. First of all, when you go faster, the problem is with this stuff, is that there's a lot of stuff that you can pull off slow, even if you're going the wrong way with the bow or even if you're in the wrong part of the bow. But as soon as you get to a certain tempo, you can't do that anymore. See what I mean? So what you're doing there, Bill, that might help is you're doing it down near the bottom of the bow. That's very difficult. I call that Jascha Heifetz territory because it's where all the weight is and your hand is there, and it's much harder to get a good sound down there. So when the tip is kind of swinging around. So when you're trying to do those 16th notes, it's going to be hard. It's kind of awkward. See that? I do them down here. Check this out. See that? And then it's just a little, remember the jiggle? Then it's just a little jiggle. Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. That's all.
You know what I do? I just play the two B's.
Yeah, well that's definitely a good cheat. That's definitely what I would do too. But that there, what you just did there a second ago, further up on the bow, that was much lighter and smoother.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, see if you can pay attention to where you are on the bow. Most of those kind of quick things, I'm down here. Like cuts, for instance. I'm always down in this end of the bow, because then it's just a matter of a flick. Whereas up here, it's way more work. See that? So that should help you there, Bill. Anybody else having any problems? Anything?
I don't have the fingerings written in, so I found that I couldn't. I tried to follow up without the fingerings, but I can't do it. So I'm just writing them in now. But
do you know what they are? Are you good to go to do that?
Yeah, I'm halfway. I'm just. It takes. Yeah. If you're wondering why I wasn't playing, that was why.
No, I figured it was something like that. So you're doing it on your computer, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got 3 3 1 2 3 1 A D2 A D2. And then the same 3 3 1 2 3 1 A D2 D2 D open.
AT2 1 open.
Yeah, so it's down the scale. And then they've got the first one again, D D. So 3 3 1 2 3 1 A D2 A A3 E E1 A3 open E A2 A3 A3. Okay, does that help?
Yeah.
And then the second line. So anybody who wants to do this is a good opportunity. And then it's also a good opportunity to hear my singing. What do you think, Mimi? Pretty good so far, eh? Okay, so for the second part, E1, A3, A3, E1, E2, E1, open E. Okay, you getting that? Yeah, okay. A3, open E, E1, A3, A, A3, E1, open E1, 3. You should have picked a different key, I suppose. And then a 2 is right after the 3 there. And then you can exactly repeat the bar above. E1, A3, A3, open E, E1. And then E2, E1, open E, A3, open E. Just like the same, same as the top line there. And then E1, A3, open E, A2, A3, A3, basically. See, has everybody got that now? Okay.
I had to write the fingering in too, but only partially, only at the beginning of a new thing.
Yes.
But if you play it fast, then it's still hard to just, yeah. So I'm not doing every note because you cannot read them anyway.
Right.
But
That's okay. Now, one thing, so my advice about that is a really good way to do it, eh? And the way that the Suzuki method takes the fingers away from the student, like takes the fingerings away, is to kind of do exactly what you were saying. Like they'll label the first phrase, but then if the second phrase is a repeat of that, they don't label it. See that? You're supposed to kind of remember that melody and refer back. It's a good ear training thing. So my advice to you in that way, if you have that first phrase marked out, practice just that a whole bunch of times. Because then when you come around to do the first phrase again, you're not going to have to read it or wonder. Your fingers will already know it. So take the bits that are written with the fingerings and do them on their own. That's my best advice for that. Okay? It's better than listening to my singing. My first show that I worked for, Magic of Ireland, we went out on tour, and this lady, October Brown, the music director, hired me, and I was thrilled. It was when I first moved to town, and it was a real gig. And she was like, now, the producer's a real jerk, and he likes to get big time bang for his buck, and you only play the fiddle. Your doubling instrument is drums. That doesn't help. So you're going to have to sing backup vocals as well. And I was like, I can't sing, but, I'll give it a shot, I guess. And she was like, you're going to have to. So I practiced as best as I could. I got my wife to drill me and all that kind of stuff. She came over, she rehearsed with me. And then we went to play the first dress rehearsal for the producer. And I sidled up to her, for the first song. And I kind of chime in with my backup vocals for the chorus. We finish, and she leans over and she says, "Don't sing." She never asked me to sing ever again. In the next 4 years, never again did she ask me to sing. Anyway, so does that help? Everybody got the fingers straight now? Okay, good. Any other problems before we try going a little faster? Now is the time to address them. Okay, let's do it. Oh my God. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go! Okay, looking pretty good, looking pretty good. Lena, have you got it all sorted out now? No? Okay.
It's okay. Once I have it written down, I can play it at that speed. I'm just not quite done.
That's okay. That's all right. All right. We'll get there. We'll get there. Anybody else have problems at that speed? Anybody had your bow stopped or you couldn't go forward or anything like that? Okay, good. That's great. So now we're going to put them together. Carrie Polka followed by John Ryan's. Okay. Now I'm going to play them together twice each as a reference for you and for the recording, so you can go back and refer. And I'll do it about that speed. Okay, so you can hear what it sounds like. Anybody that wants to play along, please go ahead. You're muted. 3 and oh God. 3 and And that is the set. Now, there were lots of brave souls that kept going. Whoops, Scott had to leave. He tried to come back in, but then he left again. He's got an old laptop, apparently. Yeah, so there were some people that kept going. There's some people that dropped in, went back in. How did everybody find that? It was a little bit faster, for sure. How did everybody get along with that? Not bad? All right, that's great. So we're going to work on that set. We're going to get it kind of a decent tempo. All right, that's going to be a goal for us. So I want you to try to practice that whole slew of music. See if you can keep up throughout the whole thing and maybe even make it a little bit faster, okay? And of course, anybody that wants to make a video of that for me, please feel free. Go ahead. Anytime you want to make a video of something for me and send it to me for feedback and to talk about it, just go ahead. Anytime you feel like it. I love that, okay? So that's our goal. We're going to work on those two polkas and get them to a decent tempo with everything involved. Now, while we were playing, I was watching everybody's arm. I was watching about things that might slow you down. And I'm still seeing lots of this here. Okay? So I want everybody to work really hard to get rid of that. Another thing, here are things that deteriorate while you're concentrating on getting through the damn tune. Here are things that deteriorate. That deteriorates for almost everybody I've ever taught. You start off good, and then the next thing you know, you're doing this, okay? The other thing is bow hold. That deteriorates like you wouldn't believe, okay? Just remember the principles, the elements of the bow hold, right? The pivot point, and the pushy downy, and the pushy downy, and the guardrail. And that's all you got to remember for your bow. It's very simple. So if you're doing anything that looks weird, especially this is what I see so often with people just starting off. It's like when you first pick up the bow, it looks like this. And you do not want this. You always want your hand to be over the bow. You see that? Always. You never want to be kind of reaching out for it like that. So I did notice a few bow holds deteriorate as we went on. Going to make your job a lot harder. So try to keep an eye on that. Okay, and then I also saw a few shelves. So I noticed that since I talked about the shelf, right, everybody made a really good effort for a little while with the nice round arm. And then after a while, especially that last time when we were playing those two tunes there, I saw many people kind of revert, like, back to this, okay? So remember, all these things are just like religion. You can only try your best. And then you let the chips fall where they may, because it deteriorates. My dad used to call it backsliding, right? That's what happens when you start cheating on your Lent promise or whatever. You're backsliding. So that's what happens there. So watch for it, because I noticed everybody tonight, it was an element that I saw. All right. Now, how are we doing? Has anybody have any questions or things they want to talk about after all that playing?
I have a question with the ending of the the two different endings throw me off.
Yep.
After the first two lines, I never get that step to the E1.
Oh, okay.
It always trips me off, and then it goes on la 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 la, and then it takes me a while to get back in there. So
yeah.
Do you ever play the second ending?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I did tonight, like I did every time there tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. Now what I would do, what I recommend there for that's a classic seam problem. That's what I call it. You got to work on that seam between the two parts. So what you want to do is, I find it a two-part process. The first thing to do here, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing is to work on the opening of the phrase that you're having problems joining up to. In this case, it would be the beginning of the B part. All right?
Yeah.
So you want to start that strong. That's the first job. Start that. Just play the notes. Just look at them. F, D, D. Just play the da, 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 da. Even maybe a few more, but not many. So you don't want to take a bite that's too hard to chew. So this would be plenty. Playing about this much of the B part over and over. Do it like 4 or 5 times. Good strong start. So if it sounds like this, that's not a good strong start. See what I mean? You want to put your finger down and then again, get your finger ready and do it again. If you get a good 4 solid goes at it like that, then you back up. Then you do the little bit before. So you go. See that? Because if you can start the part solidly, the pickups are not as important. You'll find that they become way easier. See what I mean? So first you do this, then you back up to say here, or actually I would say more like here, because it makes more sense to the ear. See that?
Yeah.
That's how to attack that.
And that's for other pieces too. It always throws me off somehow, the different endings.
Oh,
And
yes, they're notorious. That is a classic spot where people get really screwed up. And there's 2 reasons for it. First of all, the choice. So the first time you do this, the second time you don't, or whatever it is, right? That's really hard to deal with. The other thing is that when you hear other musicians play these tunes, usually the first place they start to change tunes to be their version is the endings and pickup notes. Those are the first ones that get changed. So if you've heard Sean Ryan's polka say 100 times, you've probably heard, say, 80 different versions. And that's hard for the ear. It's like it makes the ear wonder. Okay, so that's why it's always good to solidify those pickup notes.
Okay.
Very good question. Very good question. Anybody else got a really good question like that before we wrap up? Anything?
I'm just really struggling with the bookshelf. My hand just really wants to revert back to that all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm trying it, but it's really like causing a lot of tension in my left arm.
So the bookshelf is causing tension.
Or my efforts to, I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
I'm not sure, but
Let me show you something that has been a recent revelation for people that have this problem. So, and it's for people that kind of had the extreme of the problem, which is creeping up the neck, because the bookshelf does lead to eventually creeping up the neck, sharpness, right? Playing sharp. So what I have noticed, I've been telling people for years, if you have that sharp sound, it's because your hand is coming up. So you got to put it back there. And during the pandemic, with the close scrutiny I have on the Zoom screen, I notice that it's a relaxing back. The effort is what causes the problem.
right.
So if you can relax it and let go of that effort, I bet you it'll take care of this whole thing, because that's really important, eh? I mean, you know that. It's like you can hurt yourself if you're not careful with that tension. So you want to try to reduce as much as you can. Effort is not going to help your problem. Relaxing is going to help your problem.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but I'll
I know, that's the thing. And I had a few students where it was chronic, like constantly doing it. And I got to the point where I was like, I don't know, stick a nail there or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think for you, just if you concentrate on relaxing, as soon as you see that bookshelf, instead of trying to go, ugh, just try to start by just to relax like that.
Yeah, just like release it. As
Yeah.
Pushing it back. To,
Don't push anymore. Just see if you can just release it. See if that does the job. It could very well. Okay? Yeah. Because you don't see this from everybody. You know, there are lots of players that have kind of a halfway. That's fine. It seems fine.
Okay.
Okay? So we'll see. We'll check on that next week, because that's a very important point. Anybody else having any bits like that? Okay, good. So I've given you lots to think about tonight. I wanted to get in on the sound production early because you have a chance to work on it now. You know, that's the thing. It's like, if a little bit of attention to it in the early stages can really... I know people that can play 1,000 tunes in tune with good rhythm and a horrible sound. You know, and it's been bugging them for a decade. It's like it can be really a problem. So that's why I like to get it early, nip it in the bud. Just think about that sound, make the good sound. So we'll talk more about that next week, but I really want that to be the main focus of your practicing this week. And when you work on that sound production, you're going to bring it to these polkas even, you know, because polkas are fast, short little notes, but no reason why they can't sound good. And especially since we're going slow, it's a good opportunity. And then next week, another thing I want you to think about this week, next week we're going to pick a very simple tune to work on sound production and make me videos. Okay? So have a think about it. Skyboat song, Aaron song, the South Wind, She Begs She More. These are all very popular, kind of like really simple little airs that you might already know about. And I'll tell you more next time, okay? So we'll have a talk about that, and then we'll start this sound production project along with what we're doing. Sound like a plan? Okay, great. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday, and have a great week.
Big Stan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Night, Dan.
Nighty-night.